What is this? Look at this. It's got intro music now. How official. Fancy. Hold on, let me get this lined up. There we go. Welcome back. I don't really have a name for this yet. Kind of need one. I'm thinking like calling it like, I don't know, Better From Here or something like that, because I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll be able to take something with you that you can use. By the end of this episode, I'm going to teach you something you can use to stop worrying altogether. Maybe not stop worrying altogether, but to at least manage your worry that you have. Hi, I'm Riggs, by the way. Last week, we talked about how you're not your thoughts, which is a pretty powerful episode. It says basically, just because your brain says something, that doesn't mean that it's not true, which is absolutely true. You have thoughts all the time. How we deal with those thoughts. That was last week's episode. If you want to go back and check it out, that's great. See, I used to think that the key to worrying was to worry less. You know, I used to think, hey, why don't you just stop worrying? Which is an easy fix to tell somebody. But the goal is to let your worry stop being the loudest voice in the room. That's kind of what you want to do. Because that's what I've realized. Is you can't control whether, worried thought shows up, but you can control whether it lets you, whether it ruins your entire day. So think about this. What has your brain been rehearsing all week? Has it been rehearsing like a conversation that you have coming up this week? Maybe you have money situations that you're dealing with this week. Maybe you have something going on with your kids. Maybe it's something you said. Maybe it's something that somebody else said. But I guarantee that you're probably worrying about something right now. Everybody is. We're all worried about something. But today's episode isn't about pretending that life isn't hard. It's about taking back one thing that belongs to you, and that is your attention. Your attention is super important. You are in 100% control of that. We talked about that last week. So why do our brains worry? I got transition music for this, by the way. Check this out. I don't know what this music is. It's our transition music. Look, our brains aren't broken. They're actually doing exactly what they're evolved to do. They're constantly scanning for danger. Our brains are always looking for danger. They're always looking to keep us safe, right? Cavemen back in the day, thousands of years ago, we used to be worried about what was coming around the corner. Is a saber-toothed tiger coming to get us? But the thing is that our brains still haven't evolved from that. So when you worry, your brain can't tell the difference between worrying about being eaten by a lion or worrying about a phone call you have this week with your boss. Your brain can't tell the difference between the two. Like here's something that happened with me when I was worrying about becoming a skydiving instructor. I used to be a skydiving instructor. Did you know this? I used to voluntarily strap people to my chest and throw them out of an airplane. I was that guy. I was the instructor. The first person I took was my wife. By the way, I have a picture of it right here. Hold on. Yeah, see that? And the first person I took was my wife. Well, I mean, I took some other people. You have to take some students on your trip, but she was. I must drop that picture. She was the first person that I took, by the way. She was the first person that I took. And when I wanted to be a tandem skydiving instructor, there's a lot that goes into it. You got to have 500 skydives first and foremost, which is a lot. 500 skydives is a lot. So I'm, first of all, wondering, do I have enough skydives? Am I going to be able to do this? Can I handle the equipment? Can I handle all of the knowledge and all of the, it's a completely different skydiving system that you're using when you're a tandem skydiver. You're using 2 parachutes. You're taking 2 people. You have 2 handles that release your main parachute. You've got a lot more going on. You've got a lot more to worry about. You got a bigger parachute. There's so much to worry about. So my brain was constantly going, there's no way you're going to do this. You're going to screw this up. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt the person in front of you. Something bad's going to happen. Like I was going through all of this and playing this whole thing over and over in my head. And when I went through the training, I only messed up once. Once really bad. I messed up while I was training. I forgot to throw out that little drogue parachute, that little one that you see floating above people when they're doing tandem skydives, that little mini parachute. It's called the drogue. I forgot to throw that out. That was the only thing that I forgot to do, though. That was the only misstep that I had during my whole training. But I kept thinking the whole time, I was like, I'm going to do this wrong. I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to waste all this money. I'm going to waste all this time. This is not for me. But when it came down to it, I was kind of putting myself through the ringer twice, because instead of just stressing about it once, I was stressing about it twice while I was doing it the whole time. So I'm basically putting myself through the ringer twice. And that's what we do when we worry about things, is we're putting ourselves through the stress of the event while we're worrying about it. And then we go through the actual event and we're already thinking about the things that we've been worrying about. We're wondering if all of these negative outcomes are going to come to fruition. Do they? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, it doesn't happen at all. Most of the time, that's just you having something living in your head rent free. It really is. I mean, think about how many times you've been worried about something, and then you come to the actual event and you realize, I don't, I didn't have any reason to be worried at all, did I? I really didn't. You don't. You really don't. Somebody said a perfectly good airplane, no less. Now, there's no such thing as a perfectly good airplane, sir. There are no perfect airplanes. That's not true, Christopher Witt. But when we worry about things, we're putting ourselves through it all the way until we get to the actual moment. And then we're going through with it and we're worrying even more. And we get to the end and we realize, why did we even worry about this? What does worrying actually accomplish? What purpose does it actually serve? What does it serve? When's the last time that worrying about something did something good for you? It hasn't. It doesn't. Because worrying does absolutely nothing for us. All it does is create way more stress and anxiety, which leads me to my second section. You ready for more music? Let me ask you a question about your worries real quick. The hidden cost of worry. When is the last time that worrying about traffic made the traffic go faster? Didn't do it, did it? When was the last time you worried about somebody texting you back and they texted you back faster? When was the last time that you worried about the weather and the weather changed because you worried about it? Hold on a second. What's going on? Well, I'm getting an Amber Alert. I could worry about that too if I wanted to. When's the last time you worrying about your finances actually fixed your finances? It doesn't. Worrying fixes absolutely nothing. It doesn't. Worry changes. Worry doesn't change. Worry charges interest on problems that you may never have. That's what it does. It's like, imagine if somebody, what if I told you, I'm going to lend you $10, but for every minute that you're borrowing that $10, you have to pay me back $5 in interest. So if the first minute you owe me $15, second minute you owe me 20, third minute you owe me 25, and so on and so forth. Would you agree to that? You wouldn't. It's a stupid investment, but we make these investments emotionally every single time that we worry about things. We're making investments into our future that the worst is going to happen, but it's not. It just doesn't. That's not how it works. Sometimes, okay, I'll give it to you. Sometimes you're worried about something bad happening, and sometimes something bad does happen. You can't fix that, though. It's completely out of control. That's what this is all about. Controlling your controllables. I just don't like saying it like that because I feel like it's an overused thing, like controlling controllables. It just, because you can control really anything you want to if you put your mind to it. But when you take your worries and you start squishing them down and you're realizing, why am I worrying about this? Why don't I worry about what I can actually do to fix the problem right in this exact moment that we exist? Not what I can do in the future, not what I might do, not what might happen. What can you actually do in your control at this moment to make things better? Usually it's nothing. Usually it's just putting those worries and stuffing them in a sack, which we'll get to that in a second. I'll teach you about how I schedule my worries. I actually do this. It's a real thing that I do, and it could work for you. I'll tell you about it in a second. But here's another thing. I work at a radio station, right? So what if we just let anybody that wanted to be on the radio be on the radio? Like just everybody that called up, we just gave them the microphone and said, go ahead and start talking. It'd be chaos. It'd be absolute chaos. You need someone to control when you give them the microphone. That's me sometimes. You can be the DJ in your own mind. You're going to have hundreds of thoughts popping up in your head, hundreds of worries. You just have to decide which one of those worries you're going to hand the microphone to and actually amplify that worry and say, all right, this is a legitimate worry. Sometimes worries are warranted. Sometimes worries are warranted when I'm skydiving. I do have some worries when I jump out of airplanes. I will agree there are no perfect airplanes, but the door is open. But there's always a worry when I'm skydiving. There's always that one worry. What's going to happen if the parachute opens or doesn't open? What's going to happen if there's an issue with the airplane? What's going to happen? What could possibly happen? I don't know. But all I know is that I can control what I'm doing at the moment. I can focus on my training. I can trust on my experience and draw on that to tamper that worry and to make it a little bit less. So if worrying doesn't work, what if we stop treating every single worry like a roommate and we started treating all of our worries like an appointment? This leads me to my next one. with another green button. You ready for this one? I have more transition music. Check this out. Way too aggressive. This is one of my favorite things to do in positive psychology, though. It's one of my favorite exercises, and I use it all the time. Scheduling your worries. All right. So here's how this works. Anytime that you have a worry, write it down. Like literally open up your phone's app, your notes app, and just write it down right there. Put it in your notes app and then put it down and then go about your day. What I want you to do is try this. I'll a lot of times I will go through and I'll write down things that I'm worried about. If it's a work thing, if it's a money thing, if it's something to do with the show that we have coming up, if it's events that we have coming up, if it's well, my wife's looking to buy a camper van, if we're making plans for that, I take all these worries and I put them in like a little imaginary bubble. All right. And then what you do is you set a time later in your day to worry. I'm serious. This sounds silly, but set aside like later tonight at 7:30, I'm going to worry about all of these things. And then at 7:30, you open up that note or you open up that pad of paper and you look at everything that you had written down that you wanted to worry about, everything that you every fear that you have, every anxiety about the future, every single worry that you had, write it down and go through it right then and there. And you're going to realize during that probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes of going through your worries that some of it was dumb. Some of it may be warranted. And you can use that time that you schedule to worry to actually worry about those things. Actually worry about those things. Maybe you need to take care of a couple things, get them knocked out. Maybe it's paying some bills. You know, schedule a time to worry. And then go back to exactly what you were doing afterwards. If you're not ignoring your worries, you're not suppressing it, you're postponing it. You're procrastinating. And isn't that fantastic? Procrastinating is so much better. You're teaching your brain, I hear you, but you're not in charge of my schedule today. So you're not ignoring your worries. You're not pretending they don't exist because that's just silly. That's toxic positivity. Nobody needs that. You have to face some of these worries and fears every once in a while, but when you schedule it, it's way better. So if you're listening, open the Notes app on your phone and just title something and call it worries for the day. And just write down one thing that's been bothering you and then pick a time later tonight and then deal with it and just worry about it for 10 minutes. You're not going to need 10 minutes to worry about it, but it's going to allow you to deal with that in a more organized way. Because think about it, if somebody came and bothered you every 15 minutes of your day, if you're sitting there in an office, which is the worst part about working in a building with other people, is that they're constantly coming in and saying things. They're bringing up things about their weekend. How was your day? What are you doing for lunch? What's that? If every single time somebody comes in and interrupts you, it's obviously distracting, right? That's what's happening every single time that you have a worry pop in your brain. It's somebody coming in and interrupting your train of thought. You're going about your day. You're in a flow with your day. But then here come your worries knocking at the door. You don't need that. But if you take that worry and say, all right, I'm going to use this later for some fuel, that's when it really works. That's when that appointment comes. So you'll start to notice something. How many of those worries solve themselves? None of them will have solved themselves. How many of these worries weren't really problems? You're going to realize how many of these weren't really problems all to begin with. I just kind of had the worry for the moment and now it's gone. And how many of those worries actually deserved your attention? You're going to find not many of them really at all deserved your attention. One other thing that I was doing, and I was in a spin class, it's cycling, like riding a bike to nowhere. I do it. It's for exercise. It's for my cardio. That's my thing. It's for my mental health. I love to exercise. I go to True Fusion. What I did the other day is I was not in the mood to do a spin class, but I pushed myself through to do it because I know it's the right thing to do. I knew it was going to be good for me and I would feel better on the other side. So I pushed through and I went to this spin class. It's like 8:15 in the morning. And I'm just dragging ass. I'm not into it. And poor Damien, the guy that's teaching the class, he's trying to get everybody into it, but I'm just not feeling it. But then I drew on that little worry bubble that I had because I also it's not really a literal physical list of my worries, but I keep a mental list of things that bother me, that worry me, that make me mad, and I just kind of put them in this little bubble. And then when I need the energy for my workout, I draw from those things that have been worrying me and bothering me and angering me and upsetting me. And I use them as fuel to push through a workout. And it feels so much better because I feel like it's using them as gas almost because you put gas in your car, you never see the gas again, right? It leaves your car as vapor and exhaust. It's gone. It's the same thing with your worries. You take your worries, you put them in that tank, and then you burn that tank later. And then maybe you burn it in an exercise class, or maybe you burn it in the appointment that I told you to make, where you set aside that appointment and then you burn those worries later and you get through them and you go, you know what? I didn't need to worry about any of this stuff. That's fantastic. And it feels great once you burn through it because you're not worried about it anymore. You've already burned through it. And it felt great after that workout because I knew that all the stuff that was pissing me off from the week, that was grinding my gears, that was worrying me and bothering me, I got it out in a workout and I got it out in a healthy way. I didn't let it continue to build up and stack up in my brain. I used it as fuel later for the exercise. You can use it and just burn it later in a nice little ceremony with your appointment to worry later. So set aside a time to worry later. Try it. See how it goes. It's time for another new feature with another transition. Here we go. Oh, wait, that was the wrong one. Yeah. It's time for the random riddle of the day. Here's your riddle for today. You ready for this one? I get bigger the more you take away. What am I? This is a good one. I get bigger the more you take away. What am I? What gets bigger the more that you're taken away? You know the answer? It's a hole. It's an a-hole. Just a-hole. It's like it kind of fits into our whole topic today about worrying because worry works the same way. The more attention that it steals from you, the bigger that it feels. The more that you worry, the more of your attention that it steals from you, the less productive you are. What do you think about that? That's actually pretty good right there. We feel that more that we spin out of control with our anxieties, tail spinning into a disaster of things that never going to happen, that just, it never happens. It never gets to that point where it's so catastrophic where we're going to die. I mean, it's never that bad. Never. So the more you take away, it's a hole. And it kind of fits into what we're talking about today with the worries, with the going back and the scheduling of the worries. Give that a try later. So this week, that's what I want you to do. I want you to stop. I don't want you to stop worrying because that's impossible to do. I can't just tell you to stop worrying. It's easily said than done. Just stop letting every worry interrupt your life. Every worry should get written down, and every worry should get maybe 10 minutes of your life. Maybe. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. You schedule your worries. You learn to deal with your worries. You learn to put them on a little shelf. Let them fester. Deal with them later. Does this deserve my attention right now? Think about that. Does this, what I'm worrying about, deserve my attention right now? Honestly, probably not. Schedule it for later. Is this something I can actually act on today? Probably not. Probably not. Add it to the worry list. Deal with it later. Deal with it later. Am I planning or am I just simply replaying things? Sometimes we'll ruminate and we'll worry about things that have already happened or that we think might happen. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, you can't control the weather. You can't control traffic. You can't control someone else's opinion. You can't control every thought that pops into your mind, but you can decide what thoughts get your attention. And you can decide which worries are worth it. You're going to find out that so many of the worries that you have are totally not worth it. I promise you. Try it once this week. Just write down your worries. Do it maybe tomorrow. Do it today. Just try it once. I did it for a couple days and then I started doing it mentally. And it made things so much better because you're not ignoring the worries. You're just dealing with them at a later time. So the next 7 days, every time a worry pops into your head, write it down. Give it a little 10-minute appointment time. Deal with it later. When that appointment comes around, notice something. How many of those worries solve themselves? None of them did. Probably still sitting there. It doesn't even matter anymore. How many of those were really problems? Probably none of them. How many of those actually needed your attention at that very moment? Stop letting them interrupt you constantly. Your worries are just interrupting you all the time. Don't let them do that anymore. Schedule time to worry. There's your little tip for things to do. I'd love to hear what you discover. Let me know. Next week, we're talking about something that your brain's been doing your whole life. It's something called negativity bias. You heard of this? Negativity bias? We all do it. Confirmation bias is also another thing, but this is negativity bias. And I know a lot of people that subscribe to the negativity bias, and we'll deal with that next week. So I hope you get have an outstanding week. Enjoy the rest of it. Remember, you don't got to be you don't got to become a different person this week. You just maybe need to be a little bit better from here. So I hope that you take something from here and you're a little bit better moving forward. That's just my hope. I don't want to preach, just kind of giving you some tips. Maybe it works for you. Let me know in the comments how it works. And we'll talk again next week, same time, right here. I'm Riggs, and I guess I'll talk to you next time. So make good life decisions, all right? Thanks for watching or listening or whatever you're doing. Appreciate you very much. Should we play it out with music? Yeah, we'll play it out. We'll play it out.